Aaron Whitlow.
Brandon Spivey, and we are the Markout Movie Podcasters. Man, this
Hey,
sounds weird on with headphones on.
I know he ain't used to technology. But,
That's another
uh,
shot from Aaron T. Whitlow.
Tell him what we're doing today, Brandon.
We are reviewing Scream 2.
It is the 1997 follow up to 1996's Scream that was a major hit. That I guess Brandon, we both said this that it created maybe its own subgenre, which is like the
Kind of.
meta horror, the meta slasher horror, I guess. I don't know what not well, what would you call that genre? Like the Scream type of movies.
For me, it was more like a realistic tone. You know, I've never really understood the whole "I Know What You Did Last Summer" is like a Scream ripoff because I just don't see it. But something like Valentine, I do see. I think that's clear. Um,
Or urban legend maybe.
yeah, Urban Legend, I see. But I Know What You Did Last Summer. I just didn't. I don't see it. I don't feel it. Everyone says it is though, so I'm blind to it. I just don't see it. But
You know, the another movie that I believe was a I would say genre setting type of film was actually I'll go ahead and say Saw. Is it
yeah,
created that whole
oh,
genre of torture porn, if you
yeah,
call it that. But I think that for what it's worth, I'm not a big fan of the Saw series, but for what it's worth, I think that it did set a trend of movies that's kind of try to capitalize from it, like Hostel, just anything that's kind of like gross out type of body horror, you know.
yeah. I agree. Yeah, it's kind of like Blair Witch. What it did for found footage.
Hey, Bilfer.
Bilford, how you doing today? How's New York?
But yeah, well, yeah, you're right. How Blair Witch started the found footage
Mm-hmm.
thing, and then I think, and even then, I'll say that where Blair Witch took it, movies like Paranormal Activity took it to a different level, and then like films start kind of capitalize on that. Maybe not, maybe not, maybe
No,
not.
I mean they did. They did. They took it to a different level. In my opinion, they took it to the crapper. But I hate that series. I finally watched it last year. Oh, I wish I never watched it. No.
I'm gonna remember this so I can. It might be the clip. It might be the clip for YouTube. But I love that. But all right, let's not delay. We're talking about Scream 2. Came out in 1997. 2 years. It says 2 years. Set 2 years after the first series of murders. Sydney. Uh, Sydney's in college with Randy,
Yeah.
and the murders start happening again. And there's also a movie that's about their life, and maybe it's related. Um, Once again, we know who it stars. Everybody returns. Um, we'll talk about the people as we discuss it. Is there any numbers? You don't have any numbers. Don't worry about numbers.
No, I didn't. I didn't get
We
the
don't do
numbers.
numbers. We're not doing numbers anymore. I'm sorry. New York stinks. Scream 2 don't scare me because NYC is so violent and dangerous. Well, you live a real horror movie. It's called New York. Um,
And there's some good things about New York.
the rats are
Really?
not.
The
I
people
don't
are
know. I know.
great. They're not. They're just phenomenal people in New York. Bilford's one of them. So come on.
Bilford's one of them.
Yes,
Yeah, thank you, Bill.
he's a fine
I
person.
I love Bilford. Bilford is awesome.
You want to attack New York, man?
No,
You
I don't
ain't
want.
Snake. All right, you ain't Snake. Quit attacking New York.
Nor am I Jason. Nor am I Jason Voorhees. But anyway, Brandon.
Yeah.
So this movie, uh, some production stuff. This movie was made a year after Scream the first film came out,
Yeah.
as and the production was a bit rushed. They had to change some things because there was supposedly a script leak. And Do you know who the killers were supposed to be in the original? Or according to, I don't know if it was a fake script leak or if it was just
No.
to throw people
I,
off the trail.
I just remember Scream 3 got leaked. Stu was supposed to be back in it, and they had to change things. But no, I didn't read. I didn't hear anything about the second one.
So um, according to this, this is who the killers was supposed to be. Well, we could talk about it later on. We'll talk about it. Just remind me. But we start with now. We talked about the opening of the first film with Drew Barrymore, which was really a really great opening.
Yeah.
But I will go out on a limb and say that the opening in this one was actually really good as well. I
Yeah,
love
I
the
really,
atmosphere.
yeah, I like this one. Because there's a little bit of black humor in it too, as well. About how the black people always die first in these type of movies.
Oh, you literally meant black humor. Yeah, okay.
Yes,
This might this might be the clip for YouTube. No, but
I love the
look at
conversation they're having. You know, when they're in line about she doesn't want to. She wants to go see Sandra Bullock, and he wants to watch Stab because he likes horror films and stuff. And she's like, "Well, there's never any black people in this movie because we die first if we're in it. That's our role." And I
yeah,
hate Jada Pinkett Smith. I hate her with a passion. So seeing her die gave me. I rejoiced, but then I felt bad because I realized, her character wasn't wrong.
yeah. But by the way, Bilford says he's out. Yeah, he says Scream
You always,
franchise.
oh yeah, you Scream franchise. My favorite characters always die. I'm out.
Hey, sorry, buddy. Enjoy New York. Um, but uh, but yeah, no, I think that Jada Pickett, like I love the stuff with her and Omar Epps.
Yeah,
And the just I always thought like a movie theater is always a perfect location for like horror stuff. Just from my experience working at the theater, and
it is, and
I
it
got the
has been
feels.
in reality. The shootouts, and
Yeah, yeah.
I,
Unfortunately, yeah,
yeah, and when we get later to it, when we reveal the killers, his reasoning, he's got a point. I hate to say it, but he's got a valid point. What some people do, they get inspiration from films.
yeah. That's sad. But yeah, and so we have there's a studio screening, exclusive screening for Stab, which is their in film version of Scream,
Yeah,
essentially of what happened. Which I love that continues as a trope, and also uh, we got to also realize that so Scary Movie came out. Let's see, in 2000, so it came out like after this one. But at that point, what's funny is I always thought Scary Movie came out like immediately following Scream as
yeah.
like a mock of it. But no, this movie, man, the idea that people can be in a movie theater and somebody could literally be getting murdered in front of people and nobody know that they're being murdered.
No,
Um,
they
it's
would look at
actually
it as a joke.
terrifying.
You know, they're just having a good time at the theater. It's the cinematic experience. I've never seen a crowd like this though. I gotta be honest.
Yeah,
I've
that would get on my nerves. Honestly, I would be like, "Would y'all please sit down?" Like I've been in some excited crowds, like whenever a Star Wars came on, and a long time ago pops up,
yeah,
people will people will shout. Sing when Halloween, when the like Halloween 2018, that was a fun experience. But I've never been in. I've even employee screenings. I don't think I've ever been in a screening or a showing where it was just that rowdy. Like there's so much going on.
yeah,
I
it's
would
chaotic.
maybe Rocky Horror, maybe the Rocky Horror Picture Show when I went and seen that because they do a lot of live things with the screen. But yeah. Um, well, Omar Epps. So Jada Pinkett and Omar Epps, both of them were fairly big names at the time. Would you say?
Yeah, I think Omar. This is '97, right?
Yeah,
I think he had done Major League Two. I think, or he was getting about to do it.
he did. He did Juice. He Dracula 2000 came out in 2000, so it's before that. And Love and Basketball, which is probably his biggest film,
Yeah,
was in 2000. But yeah, he was known at that point for Juice. But I mean, but he was very known. I knew him. So when I seen him, I'm like, hey, Omar Epps. It's not like somebody you didn't know. And Jada Pinkett, of course, at that point was Jada Pinkett.
yeah.
Everybody knew Jada Pinkett at that point.
Did you
Um,
like her then? Because I didn't like her then.
then then I did cause like because of Set It Off and what's the other film
I know she didn't know
Tales
Chris.
Tales from the Crypt uh the what's that one Tales from the Crypt Demon Knight
Never seen it.
she was in there, and that's where I kind of I seen her in Set It Off and then Tales from the Crypt, and I always felt like that was like a continuation from Set It Off. Like her character ends up going down to this place, and that's where she was. But that's how I always kind of treated it in my mind. But like I love the idea of
Bilford.
uh, Bilfer. Hey man, hey, tell Will
He
Smith.
still hates Will Smith now. He still hates him.
Who,
I love Will.
who me? I don't hate him. I just don't. I don't respect him as much. But yeah. I also don't respect the dude that plays Flash. Like the only reason why I would see that movie is because of Michael Keaton. That other guy, literally, just
So
they.
here's my
Why don't
problem
they
with
fire
all
him?
this.
Why don't they fire him? I hope they is he gonna die? That would be
People got a
kind of
problem
good.
with Will slapping Chris Rock. Yet some people don't even have a problem with Ezra Miller still playing the Flash. You know,
Facts. Yeah,
the dude
you're right.
literally kidnapped people. he, he he truly did assault people. Now you can argue the fact with where Will actually assaulted Chris. It was to me, it was a little slap. It wasn't as violent as what Ezra was doing. He was throwing chairs at people. So, but people give him a pass. I don't. I don't really care to see the movie. I'm going for Michael Keaton and Ben Affleck. It's Ben's supposedly last chance to play the character. So, but yeah,
I just hope that they kill Flash. Is what I'm hoping.
they're going to bring him back, man.
I, see. I'd be okay with they killed him and they brought back the I guess Barry. What's his name? The guy that plays him in the
No, no, no,
show.
no, no. Ezra is going to stay as Flash. James Gunn won.
DC. DC, what are you? DC, you weird. You're a weird place, DC. You're a weird universe. James Gunn, come on, bro. UFC started a new TV called Power Slap. I seen that, bro. I actually seen that. It's very entertaining. Um, but I wouldn't do it because I know that I would get knocked out. So, although some guy at work this week threatened to stomp me, so hey, we'll see.
He
Um,
threatened you?
yes. But anyway, um,
Wow.
but but yeah, back to this. So yeah, so the stereotype of black people talking in movie theaters, which it's like everything that she said, like to the screen, makes sense for me. I'm like, yeah, don't do that. Yeah, don't go in there. You're gonna die. It's very. I loved it, man. And what? So Omar Epps, he died because of his own ignorance. Like nobody who puts their face here to a bathroom stall in the public. Brandon,
I did when I was little. I was like a teenager. Yeah. This guy
what
was
are you
making
doing?
some weird sounds, just like Ghostface was, and I put my ear to the stall. Thankfully, no knife came at me.
What did come at your ear, Brandon? Was there a hole there?
He wanted a number. This happened at Walmart, actually. Oh yeah, so I was like, I ran out of the bathroom, man. I had to get out.
Wow. Oh wow, that's great. It's great.
That's back
Great
when they were
story.
like sticking their hands underneath the stalls for numbers and stuff. It's a messed up time. It's just
You could have been assaulted, Brandon.
I
You
could
could
have
have
been a
been
lot of
like.
things.
You could, I'm glad you had a good knowledge to run out of the Walmart bathroom. Yes.
I was like
No,
16,
no problem.
17.
Oh, so he thought you was in it to win it. You put your ear
I was
to
in
the
it to lose
soft
it. I tell you that.
at Walmart. At Walmart, no less. At
Oh,
least
Walmart's
the
bad.
theater. Yes.
A lot of stalkers
Yeah.
at Walmart.
Yeah. But so he dies.
Yeah,
And then like the killer takes his jacket and sits next to Jada and stabs her. Uh, and I noticed looking at it this time, there's at least a woman or two in the audience that notices the blood on her, and kind of the
yeah,
whole time it's kind of like looking like, what's this? Like this is real. Like what's going on? Um, and so I see some people in the audience noticing what's going on, but not sure of what's going on. Um, but I thought that was a great cold open of a
hmm
movie.
yeah.
It kind of gets it. Scream is really good at that. I think, except for in four, I think I would argue, but in Scream is really good at the cold opens.
Yeah, I also like the fact that her name was Maureen, which is Sydney's mom's name, and it's
Hmm.
basically these killers are remaking what happened in Woodsboro. It's just a remake, pretty much.
Hmm.
So I like that idea. You know, a lot of stuff going on in the Scream franchise, though. There's just so much going on. Uh,
Yeah.
like
Uh, you know what? And they mentioned this in some prop, which is true. Because of the Scream movie, the advent or like they invented or came up with or helped rush out caller ID because of the Scream movies, uh, the Scream film.
yeah,
Which I remember there was a time when somebody would call you, you wouldn't know who's calling unless you just asked.
yeah,
Obviously, like there's no way of like seeing. But I remember when we got a caller ID and how like groundbreaking it was. Like, oh, I can see who's calling me. You know, I remember it was like a little uh, one that's apart from your phone. Then eventually it became a part of your phone. Isn't it crazy how we just lived through that time frame in our life where like how phones adapted, and plus cell phones. Where we're going to get into that, uh, how cell phones adapted. Like back here in this movie, when they was looking for whoever had phones, there
hmm
wasn't a lot of people. Now today, it'd be like crazy. Everybody has a phone.
everybody's got a phone.
Yeah,
Yeah, even kids have phones. It's insane.
this is. But yeah, Sydney Prescott is in college, and she gets prank calls a lot. But um, she wakes up to news that there was a murder at a
Mhm.
screening of Stab, which is a movie about the life. And uh, from there, we get to see Randy. And not only do we see Randy, but we get to see one of Brandon's. Oops. Oh, I did that at the wrong spot. That's why. My bad. Um, we got to see one of Brandon's favorite people. If I can pull it up here. Uh,
My
you
favorite.
know who he is, Brando. Um,
Yes, he can come back too. He's part of the Scream franchise. He can come back.
yeah, he can. I added stuff to the wrong spot. Oh, and here we go.
No,
So this is who I'm talking about.
Josh
Your guy,
Jackson.
Josh Jackson, who was it, now was Dawson's Creek a thing at this point?
Yes, it was in its second season at this point. So yeah,
Okay.
it's
All right.
I always found it funny that he was in this and Sarah Michelle Gellar was in this from I Know What You Did Last Summer, Buffy, CW.
Buffy.
You know, and now I laugh about it because they cast Jerry O'Connell as Sydney's boyfriend in this movie. The dude don't even I mean, as far as acting goes, I don't think he works anymore. I think he's on The View, but
Yeah, yeah, he doesn't work. Last movie I remember him in was Tomcat. Um,
that's actually well. Last movie I saw him in was Piranha 3D.
yeah,
That is,
uh,
is
but I know him mostly from obviously Stand by Me.
yeah,
Um, but my show that he was in was Sliders. It was a show back in like the 2000s. That was kind of like for me a good little follow up to like something like a Quantum Leap almost because it deals with not time travel but traveling through like different dimensions or different to different universes. So uh, I thought that was really cool. But you mentioned Sarah Michelle Gellar.
yeah,
Sarah Michelle Gellar is like at this time she was big. She's probably one of the biggest names that they had in here because Buffy was huge. I think at the time, right? Or
yeah,
was
yeah,
Buffy fairly new at the point?
yeah. I think Buffy started in '96. I think. Um, yeah,
Buffy started in '97. Well, actually,
on '97.
yeah, Buffy '97. Yeah,
Okay, she was doing
so
Buffy
same
when she
year.
was doing this.
And maybe who knew that Buffy was going to be like? I mean, Buffy became its own thing. It has its own comic book series. It
Yeah,
has like a lot of fan fiction. Buffy, like, and then it spawned Angel, which we talked about. David Borealis is in was in Valentine's Day or Valentine, which wanted to be Scream. So,
it did.
um, and then Timothy Oliphant, who was pretty unknown in my opinion then. Um, who I love in Justified. Obviously, it's like one of my favorite things that he's in. Do you know anything about him?
I mean, later on in his career, yeah. I mean, he was the star of the Crazies. He did a show with Reese, not Reese, but Drew Barrymore on Netflix. Uh, he did another show. I just can't think of it. But he did a few movies that I knew him from. I've always loved him. I thought he's a very tremendous actor.
You know,
But
and somebody tried to say I was watching a video on YouTube about like Scream Two, and someone and I take offense to it. They called him a second rate Stu. Stu, but I don't think that I felt like he wasn't trying to be Stu. I felt that he was trying to just show that he's insane. He's like Stu. Stu's not crazy. Stu was just gullible, and he he fell to peer pressure, like he said.
yeah,
But I think that Mickey was insane. Mickey was clearly nuts. You know?
yeah, I don't get the Stu comparison at all. I would say it's Randy if he was
No,
insane.
yeah, yeah, Randy. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
Randy. If he's insane, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I never thought about it that way. Speaking of Randy, you know what? When I first seen this film, well, a long time ago, every time I seen it, I always felt like bad that Randy died. But here, it was necessary. It was a necessary death, I think, because you want to feel like somebody. If it was between him and if it was between him and Dewey at that point, I'd rather it have been Randy.
at that point,
Yeah, I still would always would rather it be Randy. I never wanted it to be Dewey, never.
I think at that
But
point I would rather wanted Dewey because Dewey just. I
I
think
felt like they failed his character. Do you feel like they failed Dewey's character the way they had him, like with the
no, I just don't think
disability?
I ever looked at him as this really big character in the first four films. Scream Five, I think, did him justice, and then you look at the whole body of work of the Dewey character, and you realize he's kind of the heart of it.
Hmm.
But in each individual movie, he's never really the attraction. They always tease his death in every single movie. It just feels that way. Maybe not, but it feels that way. They definitely do in the first two movies. But
Yeah,
I would rather have Randy live here in this film because he just seemed like a bigger attraction, a bigger character, more lovable than Dewey. But
I
overall,
like I like Randy though. I don't want you to
yeah,
think that I hate Randy. I actually like Randy. I think Randy was. um, was one of the he's one of the characters that when they do that little brief cameo from him in the next one that we see, I
Yeah.
always tear up a little bit because I'm like, man, I like Randy, and when you don't have Randy, you're like, man, you kind of miss that. And
Yeah.
that's why I love, and that's why I'm praying that they do not kill his niece in the series that we have now going forward, because I love that we have a character that's like Randy again. So
Yeah. I mean, I don't. I'm not attached to her. I'm not attached to any of the
any
new
of them,
characters. Really, I just like the journey we're going on. But if any of them die, it's not going to hit me. There was an attachment with Randy, with Dewey. I mean, there just was. I don't know. I just don't feel the attachment with the new characters. But I do
yeah,
like the main two. I like the sisters a lot, but I don't. If they die, it's not gonna bother me. It's
yeah, I understand that. What's your thoughts on? First of all, I want to mention uh cameo that we had in here. Um, it is actually David Arquette's father uh playing the Chief Hartley, Louis Arquette. I love that little moment that they shared together when his father's going into the courtroom, the sheriff station, and
yeah,
he's leaving, and he kind of gives him a pat on the shoulder. Just like, I love that. The last time, obviously, he died after I think Little Nicky. I think his last role was in Little Nicky. Um, David Arquette's father. Um, but yeah, what did you think? Did you know that it was his father or
I
no?
I had no idea that was his father.
Yeah,
No idea.
yeah,
So I think it's a cool thing that they got to share the screen together. But I had no idea.
yeah. It's his pops. But yeah, and then there's some more people that we. So, what were your thoughts on? Let's talk about um, Joe, the cameraman, and the smartest character in the Scream movie. Do you feel like he's the smartest guy ever to get out of Dodge?
I mean, yeah, obviously, you don't want to be in that situation when there's a serial killer on the loose. You want to be away from it, but also means you lose screen time. So you know, I don't even know
But
who the
he's
actor
still
is.
he's still pretty memorable though. I think he's still memorable.
Yeah,
He's more memorable for me than Haley, which was Sydney's roommate. Like,
yeah,
she's so forgettable. Like, I honestly forget that she's in this film, which is sad. But she was supposed to be one of the original killers, by the way. Um, and then like when they rewrote it, they didn't really know what to do with her character. But it was her. It was going to be her Sydney's boyfriend, which is Jerry O'Connor, and one more person.
oh, it's
I
gonna be
think
three.
I think yeah, and then it was going to be Deborah Salt, Mrs. Loomis. Um,
At
I
least they
think
kept Loomis.
yeah, yeah. I think that's what it was going to be, but it wasn't going to be Mickey. Um, but yeah, but I think it's better that they made it Mickey and that they made it. I love that they made it Mrs. Loomis, and honestly, I didn't want her to die. I thought that I liked her. I loved her. I love the actress, by the way.
Yeah, Lori.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she was
She's
excellent. Yeah,
fantastic. I mean, obviously we know Roseanne and the Connors, which her work on there, but she is a fantastic actress. So
she
when I first saw her in
and
this movie back in the day,
mhm.
I was like, "Oh man, Jackie!" It's like,
that's what that's what I thought too. Like when I first saw her, like I didn't even know her real name. I just called her Jackie from yeah. But she and with her character, you absolutely know why she
yeah,
did it.
it's a
Like it makes sense, like that she would want to avenge her son.
absolutely,
Yeah,
that made more sense than Mickey's. Although he has some points, he does. I mean, especially today. I mean, it stands the test of time how certain people think and what they'll go to do to get their 15 minutes of fame. Uh,
Absolutely. People eat Tide Pods on camera. People glue their lips shut and stuff. And people do anything to become famous. And it's
yeah,
sad. Sad.
yeah, it is. It's really sad. And when I think of the original opening here with the theater, I can't help but think of the guy that dressed up as the Joker, went in, and killed all those people.
Yeah.
Uh,
Holmes, something Holmes, I think.
yeah,
Um,
it was the Dark Knight Rises opening weekend.
yeah.
I remember going to opening weekend. I was scared to death that something was going to happen in Bowling Green. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
I remember, like, I remember for the Joker, Walking Phoenix Joker, because of what happened with that Joker film.
yeah,
They started really, like when I worked at theater, we had to really check people, check bags and stuff because they was afraid that somebody was going to try to emulate Joker because he's such a Joker is such a character that that like anarchist that the
yeah.
chaos he craves chaos and people who love chaos flock to the Joker. Joker's my favorite DC character actually. So
I mean, he's my
other
favorite
than other than
comic
other
book
than
character,
Superman,
but
yeah.
I have a thing for the villains. I'm told so.
Yeah, I can see that. But you asked for more Cotton Weary, and you got it. How'd you feel about more Cotton Weary?
I loved it. I loved his. I don't know how to pronounce his name. Lee.
Lee
Uh,
Schreiber.
that dude. I mean, I love him as an actor, but I love him as Cotton. I wanted more of Cotton. I really did, and unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot more in the next one. But um, I thought he did a great job.
Yeah,
I love
I
his
would say
story.
that. I'll wait till the next one to say that because I'll talk about it then. I agree with you. I loved more Cotton, and I wanted Cotton to continue to be a character,
Yeah,
if you know what I mean. So
but he has some really good lines. He has some really good moments where you see him with the blood. And it's just his expressions with the blood. It's like,
uh,
oh, I'm back
yeah,
in it.
yeah. You know what? What with Cotton? That's what I noticed about Cotton watching it this time around. That he is pretty much aloof as to like what's going on around him. Like he just there to be like, hey, I want to get a story out and do an interview, and I think it'd be good for both of us and help to get me like that fame and notoriety, so I can. He's chasing fame too, but he's
Yeah.
chasing it to the point where he's not even thinking about there's murders happening around him. It's like he's oblivious to that. It's
Mhm.
not until he has the blood on his hands that he's like, oh yeah, people are dying here. Like what's going on? You know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really liked him. I thought he did a really good job. I liked him when he had a chance to work with Sydney, well, Nev Campbell. I thought they
Mm-hmm.
really had good chemistry in a couple scenes they had together. Uh, but I tell you, the one person I just do not like in the
Courtney
screen
Cox.
is what?
Courtney Cox.
Yes, I just don't like her.
You just don't like Gail Weathers.
I don't.
Um,
I just think she either should be killed off or she should be the killer.
I
She's
honestly
always
think
chasing that story.
like I don't want no spoil. This is just my own personal thoughts. I think that she would probably be the one that gets killed off because you got to have another legend die. I think
Yeah,
it would probably be Gail. I can see Courtney Cox uh, being done with the series. I wish that they was able to bring Nev back, but and maybe she could sit. Yeah, she'll sit this one out. Maybe come back eventually. Or if they're wrapping her story, I'm okay with it. And it makes sense to wrap her story because
yeah.
stop people like maybe the killers will understand eventually. Stop coming after Sydney because you will die. Sydney's about it. Um, Sydney know how to use the gun. Um, but yeah, but then same thing. You don't want Billy Loomis's daughter. She can use a knife. Um,
Yeah, if I had if this is just my thoughts, I haven't read anything or anything, but if I had this, if it was going to be, If the killer is somebody from the last movie, I think it's going to be her.
Billy's daughter.
Yeah.
Ah, that's an interesting thought. I never even thought about that. So
But I'm hoping
yeah,
it's not going to be anybody that's front and center. I hope it's going to be a surprise. And you know where
yeah,
I hope it
yeah,
goes.
yeah. I know. But um, do you remember being shocked that Lori Metcalf was revealed to be Billy's mother
Oh,
when you
yeah.
first saw it?
At the first, yeah, I couldn't get past Jackie, I couldn't get past that. I was like, it threw me for a loop. Now, the
She
Mickey
played.
character, that's not a shock. I was pretty predictable. But watching
Yeah,
it back this time around, I there was moments. Yeah, I was like, okay, she fits it. You didn't know
yeah,
she was Billy's mom until the end, but she's always around when there's a killer when
mhm,
someone's being killed. She's always around. So, and plus how Randy dies. That was personal.
yeah,
I felt she killed him because of what he said about Billy.
yeah,
Because I don't
yeah.
believe he was even a thought of being attacked at
No,
that.
I think in reality she got Gail's phone because she wanted to kill Gail in the van. But Gail instead told Randy to stay on the phone,
Yeah,
and they went searching or whatever. And so he just happened to get close enough to the van where she grabbed him and stabbed him and killed him. But I don't think that was her aim. I think that the end game is always going to be Sydney.
hmm
But I don't. But I think that because I was looking at it to see who did what. I think majority of the kills in here was Mickey, but I think that the stuff chasing Gail and Dewey um, was Deborah or Mrs. Loomis, and I think obviously killing Randy in the van because she admit that she got stab happy for Randy.
yeah,
So I think that those are the only two deaths that she did, but I think every other death was actually Mickey.
yeah. I mean, I could see that. It makes more sense. I mean, just her size. Didn't really see her size throughout the movie with the ghost face mask on, so it
Mhm.
makes sense. We haven't really talked. Let's see, who have we not talked about? Not Dewey. Well, I guess we talked about
Uh,
everybody. I guess.
yeah,
Well, we didn't. You didn't mention the cameo at the party.
the cameo at the party. Thank you. All right, let me. By the way, let's go ahead and show for those that don't know what I'm talking about. There's Deborah Salt, aka Lori Metcalf, is her name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And she's a scene stealer in every single scene she's
yeah,
in.
she is.
Um, honestly, she's so good. I love I understood her motivation and I understood her frustration why she just wants Sydney to die. So I understand that. Also, we didn't talk about this cameo who played Heather Graham uh, shows up in the Stab movie as Drew Barrymore's character,
Yeah.
Cece. Not Cece. What's her name? I
Is
don't
it?
remember it.
I think it starts with a B. Becky, Becca, Casey,
Yeah,
Casey.
Casey. Yeah, Casey.
So it
Uh,
starts with C.
but yeah, you can't really make it out. But in this picture,
I
uh,
see him.
in the middle of these two,
Yeah,
that's Stu, aka Matthew Lillard. He was actually at the time dating Nev Campbell, and so he came up there to see her while they were shooting, and he got a cameo. And I had no idea. I just found that out yesterday that he had a cameo in the movie. And then Brandon said, because he's still alive.
he's still alive. He was going to be brought back in a third movie. Still alive. So I'm saying that cameo is just Stu showing up,
Stewing. He's
bargaining.
just stewing. He's stewing.
It'd be funny though if they do bring him back and he's like the mastermind behind all the movies, but he just never is shown as Ghostface.
Oh, that'd be kind of be dope. Where and you can kind of show him talking to Roman and
Yeah,
and the other characters, and kind of like teaching the younger ones to kind of do it,
it would
or
also
kind of
show that he was truly the mastermind in the original film. It wasn't
yeah.
Billy like we think. It was Stu.
Yeah, he stared Billy into doing it.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd be pretty dope. Um, like yeah, but so yeah, Matthew Lillard makes a cameo in Scream 2, and this character is supposedly dead. But he plays just a guy at a party, obviously. But yeah, it's just like I love that. I love that. Yeah. So then, I mean, obviously we revealed who the killers were. Um, Sydney got her roommate killed. I'm gonna say Sydney got two people killed in this movie.
yeah.
Her boyfriend and her roommate. Those are totally her fault, in my opinion.
But to her defense, and I don't come to Nev Campbell's defense often, she has trust issues. You know, they're very high up there. Like my boyfriend tried to kill me a year ago. I couldn't trust anybody. Mickey's your best friend. Stu
Mm,
was Billy's best friend. I mean, you know, it's she has
yeah.
trust issues, so I understand it. Now with the roommate, yeah, that's an unfortunate incident there that you had to cross. You had to, you know, the killer's right there. So I mean, in that front seat. So it's just,
So would you have gone back to try to get the mask off?
yeah. I mean, if you're smart about it, you take that mask off and find out who he is.
I would have just took it off right then immediately after the roommate got out. Like, hey, let's take off the mask and see who it is. You
Yeah,
know. But we all know that it was Mickey. Um, but yeah, uh, Mickey's motivation is he wants to become famous. He thinks that he's gonna blame the movies
yeah,
and the trial's gonna be the thing. It's the trial, baby. The trial's gonna be where things pop. And I think it was the motivation of the kids in Scream 4. I think it's kind of their motivation as well. Well, at least one of them, I think that was his thing. I don't remember. I can't wait to watch that again. But all in all, man, uh, we get so Mrs. Loomis kills Mickey
yeah,
or shoots Mickey, uh, and then she and Sydney has this little cat and mouse game essentially that ends with um, Cotton Weary, also your girl that you don't like, uh, Gail gets shot, and you thinking, oh, I hope she dies, but she's died. But you have in the midst of all this. Oh, that's what I was going to ask you. I was going to tell you that I loved about this whole the chase scene with Gail and the Ghostface. I loved. I thought about the idea that a campus is a perfect location for like a slasher film as well,
hmm,
and just something about because they're older buildings, like the old. I thought about that, like just going through these old buildings, and it reminded me a lot of WKU because there was like the radio station on like one of the floors in mass media,
yeah.
um, and there's like these all these different rooms that you go in. But I thought that was a really good idea. Um, but yeah, what were your thoughts on the location of it being taking place on the campus?
I loved it. I thought that's clearly the next step after high school. You shoot some stuff at a high school at a high school party. Next film, it's got to be college and a campus. And I love the whole mystery of it. I do kind of feel this way about Scream. It is kind of a Scooby Doo mystery with every film. I know Part 3 gets labeled the definite Scooby Doo mystery, but I think they all are. I mean, and they're so much fun to watch. It's just the layers that comes with them, and it's just so much fun to watch how it plays out.
I have a question for
Anyway,
you. So with I know what you did last summer. I still know what you did last summer. Do you think they pivoted because of Scream Two, and because in the beginning of I know what you did last summer, she's in college,
yeah.
and instead they go on a vacation to like a tropical island. Um, and do you feel like they pivoted and didn't want to do it on campus like Scream did? Because like it came out in '98, this
It
came out
was
in
already
'97.
taking comparisons. The first one already got comparisons to Scream, so you don't want to do it at a campus. Get even more comparisons. So yeah, I think so. I originally liked the island uh, location, but last few times I've seen it, it feels like something's missing in that movie.
Are they remaking that one? Are they
No,
remaking I know?
it's getting a third, like a legit sequel with Freddie and Jennifer Love Hewitt coming back.
Oh, okay, cool. Oh, okay. That'd be interesting.
They're gonna scream
Ha-
it, but
they're gonna scream it.
or
Now,
Halloween
now,
it,
now it's gonna
whatever.
be screamed. Um, well, well, Halloween. I guess you could say that Halloween reinvented their genre as well by saying let's go to the original and make it, you know, like continue that.
Yeah,
Um,
the reason I say scream it though is because they're not gonna Halloween it where it's just gonna be a direct sequel to the first movie. It's gonna be a sequel to I Still Know What You Did Last Summer, from
so
everything I've seen. But they're gonna
okay.
scream it because they're gonna bring the legacy characters back in a supporting role with a new cast. That's that's a
Hmm.
scream
Yeah,
it.
that makes sense. That makes sense. Uh, but yeah, as I was saying, in the final finale, we have Mrs. Loomis and Sydney, and she has a knife up to Sydney's neck, throat rather, and Cotton gets the gun and he jumps, and it looks like he might let Mrs. Loomis kill Sydney,
Yeah,
but then like Sydney says, "Yeah, I give you that Diane Sawyer interview," and
better.
Cotton shoots, which was great. It's a great like her Mrs. Loomis' surprise as like she didn't know there was even an option like that was going on. Like that's a whole conversation that him and Sydney had at the library. You know,
Yeah,
like when he seen her earlier. But yeah, consider it done, which is great. And then like they shoot Mickey again, and then like she put one more in the head of Mrs. Loomis. Um, yeah, and that's pretty much the end of the movie. Cotton becomes famous,
yeah,
and Sydney walks off. Yeah,
yeah. She gives him his 15 minutes of fame. Um,
which
the
comes back
only
to stab him in the back, don't it?
yeah,
Yeah.
the only thing I have a problem in this movie, and it's not a big problem, it's just
Mhm.
the reveals. They weren't as strong as the first movie when they do reveal it, who the killers are.
Yeah,
And
that reveal was really good.
but like it doesn't take away from the movie or nothing, in my opinion. I had a blast watching it again. I actually liked it better this time than I have in previous
Well,
years. So
the reveal that it was Mickey wasn't that big of a whoop, but the reveal that it was, uh, but the reveal that it was Mrs. Loomis,
yeah,
that's Mrs. Loomis, was a twist. Um, but no, the reveal at the end of the first movie is always going to be the best. My biggest gripe with the movie is the way they did Dewey, like with uh, his nerve damage and stuff. Um, I hated that. I'm glad that they corrected it in the other series going forward. They corrected it, but yeah, I hated that, like with the nerve damage stuff.
yeah. I
That's
like
my
what
biggest
Randy
gripe.
said. What's with the limp? You got stabbed in the back. It was almost like he was accusing when he
Yeah,
said it. It's like you're a suspect because you're walking with a limp. He says it's nerve damage.
you know, I remember from the trailer for this movie back in the day when he says, "If I'm a suspect, then you're a suspect," and he said, "You're right. Let's move on." Yeah, but I remember that. I remember that trailer. Just all right. You ready to go ahead and give the numbers?
Yeah.
No. You ready to give your marks?
Yes, sir.
You can go first.
All right, I'm gonna give this a 5 out of 5. I had a blast watching it again. Yeah, last year when I watched it, I gave it a 4 out of 5, but I liked it better. I had a great time. There was the pacing was great. The kills were good. I liked the characters. I love this movie, man. I love this franchise. To me, it's the best slasher franchise of them all.
That's pretty
Quality.
good, man.
I'm not saying killer. Don't confuse the two. Quality of the films, I think it's the best.
Yeah, I give it 4.5 out of 5. The only thing that I didn't like about it, honestly, was like the Stewie, the not Stewie, but the Dewey limp is the only thing. Like, but like him falling down the stairs and stuff. Just like I just hated that they did that to him. But
Yeah,
also, but I loved I love the character. I love the movie though. I thought it was still a great movie. And like you said, this is by far the best slasher franchise. This is probably the best horror franchise that has been consistent. And you can't say that for all of them. Can't say that for
you could
Halloween
have
no more.
you could have debated Saw until they
Mm.
did Jigsaw and maybe Spiral, but like 1 through 7 or whatever it was, they were sharp, man. They really
They
did their
stuck the
homework.
landing. They
Yeah,
stuck the landing in those.
but then they did
Um,
Jigsaw, which is like one of I don't know. It's like in between 2 and 3 or something, and he looks so old. It just you go back and watch it all. It don't work. And then of course Spiral, he's not even the killer. He's not alive. He's not has no part in it. It's a 7 ripoff in my opinion that I did enjoy, but Chris Rock tried too hard.
I didn't like it. I remember
I know
not
you didn't
liking that
like
one.
it, but
But yeah, I think that if you look at any movie franchise, like horror franchise, and I consider like um, what is it? What's that with the Purge? The Purge series is a franchise as well. Um, I think that I think I like for the most part a lot of the Purge films, but
yeah,
there's still some that's not as strong. But with this one, I honestly think that all the movies are still strong. Even the one that I think the weakest one would be the third one that we watch next week. But I think that it's still strong. It's weak, but it's not weak weak. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, yeah. It's a good movie. I mean, it's a lot better than other films that come out with a part three. But I don't know. I've always said it's not really about Ghostface in this franchise. It's about the characters,
Yeah, it
and
is about the characters. Yeah.
your attachment to
Um.
the characters. And I know. I just love it. I love where it
Um.
goes. I love that it's going to
Mhm.
Hollywood next, even though that's probably not realistically. But I love that it does go to Hollywood.
Yeah. I mean, it does. It is, and we're gonna talk about it next week because it kind of attaches it to, and it's crazy because the Weinstein's produced this. So wow, it's like
Yeah.
gonna be very meta. But um, but yeah, no, I enjoyed the movie. And I enjoyed going back to watch it. Just these are. It's like I said it last week. It's my franchise now. Sad to say it. I love Halloween because it's a hometown thing, but Halloween kills or ended Halloween for me, and it's sad. They did my boy wrong, but yeah, at least I still have Ghostface. Um, all right, well, that be it for this week's episode. Brandon, what do you want the people to do?
We would like you to subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed this episode, or to keep up with future episodes, so you don't have to go searching on that search engine. Just click that subscribe button right now. There you go.
Click it.
And you can
And
also like and share and comment. Do
yeah,
what you do.
yeah, and tell us who do you like Scream? Um, are you glad that the killers ended up being Mickey and Mrs. Loomis, or would you rather it been Haley and Jerry O'Connor, which nobody wants that. Nobody wants to see the boyfriend again. Yeah.
But it's coming.
We don't. Yeah, that's what I said. But we get that. We get that, don't we? But
I think honestly, Gail needs to be a killer eventually.
you know what?
She got that vibe, man.
I would say this about the last one that we before we even get to it again. But I would say that I didn't see him. I didn't see the boyfriend as the killer. I didn't see that. I didn't see that. I think that that was legitimately me like, oh wow, I didn't see that he's the killer. Oh, they did a good job of subverting that. Even though Dewey
We called him out.
always Dewey calls out every killer honestly in the movie in the show. Just listen to what Dewey says because he says no, Randy did it in this one. He says nobody's seen Jason Voorhees Mrs. Voorhees as the killer, but there's a twist, there's a shot. So went over our heads. We didn't know that in this case it's Mrs. Loomis.
Yeah.
But yeah. All right. We thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and have a great rest of your weekend. And if you see Quantumania, don't ruin it for people.
Ooh, I'm not gonna say a word.
You seen it already?
I have not, but I've heard bad things.
I've heard bad things, but I haven't heard it. I've seen people's faces on their
It's
thumbnails on
just,
YouTube.
it's Marvel. It's Marvel. It's
It's
Marvel
Marvel.
today.
It's Marvel today. All right. Well, we thank you for listening and watching. You have a great rest of your weekend. Thanks for marking out with us.
Thank you.